This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas. Today I'm making a button band that is a good band for machines with no ribber. Now my machine has a ribber, but I'm not going to use it for this. You could use this band for an LK150, or maybe you've got a Brother 350, some machine with no ribber. It has some anti-roll properties, and it has an interesting edge. So let's get started. I'm going to begin by making a sample about 20 stitches wide. I'll just E-wrap cast on. If this were a real garment, then you would put some kind of finished edge at the bottom, a hem or some sort of latched edge. Once I get cast on, I'm going to put my machine on tension 4. That's a good tension for my yarn. And I'm going to knit from right to left. And I'm going to hang a weight. Here's a handy weight for this size sample. It'll just take care of the whole thing. And I am putting my machine on the short row setting. This is the setting where it will not knit stitches on the held needles. For my machine, I slide the NH lever over to H. If you have a studio machine, you'll have to change your Russell levers so that they do not knit held needles. I am hand picking the first, third, and fifth needle, working from the right. This is the edge needle, and bringing them out to hold. I'm also putting my row counter on 0. Now, when I knit to the right, the machine lays the yarn over these needles, but it does not knit them. And then I'm going to push them to upper working position, back about that far, so that when I knit back, it knits them, and I am not bothering to put this string under the end needle. The machine will catch that yarn and knit it in and make kind of a cool edge. At least my model will. If yours doesn't, put it underneath. And I'm going to do that each time I'm going to the right. I'll pull those 3, go to the right, and then when I go to the left, they'll be in upper working position. I'm on row 8. That's row 9. And then I go to row 10. When I'm on row 10, I'm going to do my first buttonhole. I'm taking the third needle from the end, this one, moving that stitch to the left to the next needle. And I'm still pulling the first, third, and fifth needle out into hold. I go on over to the right, push these back to upper working position, and go back. So I've done 12 rows, 14 rows, 16 rows, 18 rows, and 20 rows. Now I decided for my sample to do my buttonholes each time I got to one of the 10s. So I did one at 10, now I'm doing one at 20. Again, I just move the stitch over to the left, and then I bring out needles 1, 3, and 5, and it makes 22, 4, 6, 28 and 30. So now I'm again on one of the 10s. I'm going to do another buttonhole. These buttonholes might look small to you, but you'll be surprised. They hold a decent sized button. My practice is to knit my buttonholes before I go shop for the buttons. I take the garment to the store and I can actually try the buttons in the buttonholes. That's 38, 39. In row 40, I'm going to bind off because we really just need a small sample. I'm going to do a loose bind off, just loop through a loop, knitting all the needles. So I switched out of that hold setting, or I could have put those needles in upper working position and it would have knitted them. I use this bind off a lot, and you've probably seen it. I just get this first loop on the latch tool, pull it right off the end of the needle, slide in, get the second loop, pull the second loop through the first, pull the third through the second, the fourth through the third, and so on and so on. It's a quick bind off, and it looks like a hand knitter's bind off. The only problem with it is you have to be able to turn your tension dial at least 5 numbers looser, or you have to knit a loose row in some other way. If you don't loosen the last row, you get too tight of a bind off. So now I've bound off, and it's time to really look at how this turned out. My white sample that I showed up at the beginning had been lightly steamed. Now I want you to notice that the button band is a little shorter than the rest of the sample. It needs to be a little shorter so that you don't get a floppy, sloppy button band, because there is a fair amount of stress on this part of the garment. So that is the result that I want. And here is the button band I just knitted that has not been steamed. So naturally it rolls at the bottom and it rolls at the top. But look how much roll that button band over here eliminated compared to over here. It's even more obvious if I flip it over. This is the button band side of things, and this is the other side. So I think you'll find this a useful technique on a machine that does not have a ribber. Now if you've got a ribber, check out some of my other videos and learn more about making a ribbed button band. And of course, if you have the time and patience, you can also latch up a ribbed button band on your machine without a ribber.